Hello everyone and welcome back. Mark here with another MSFS full flight video for us today. As you can see, we are in the default 787-10 today, but we are currently using the AAU2 Aircraft and Avionics Update 2 beta version of the 787. It's the latest update as of today, which is 1.33.7, I believe. So we're going to be checking it out. I have done a couple flights previously in a couple of the previous versions of the beta. This is my first time flying the updated version of the beta, latest update, so we'll see how it goes. It's definitely much improved over the normal default version, at least flyable with IFR operations, whereas the default version without any mods wasn't really super flyable. So VNAV works pretty well, still had some issues with that in terms of especially getting the airplane slowed down, so we'll see how that all operates, but for the most part, if you program it well, it pretty much does what you want it to and what you expect. So we're sitting on the ground here in Doha, Qatar. So we're aboard Qatar Airways today, and we're going to be flying up to Athens today. So our total flight time is going to be just under 4 hours. Airtime, a little over 4 hours, like 4 hours 5 minutes block time today. So it's early morning here in Doha. Flight plan has been completed. We're all loaded with fuel. And as you can see, GSX has started the catering process. So in just a second here, we will jump into the flight deck and get everything set up and get ourselves on out of here. So this is the MXI Designs payware version of Doha Hamad International Airport, which overall is quite a nice scenery. It's one of my favorites, actually. I think it has a good mix of kind of looks, visuals to performance. Overall it performs pretty well. There is one area of the terminal kind of off in this direction that seems to kill frames a little bit when you get near it, but other than that, pretty happy with this scenery. So we'll head up to FlyTampa Athens today. So without further ado, let's go ahead and jump into the flight deck and we will get things going here. We'll actually head back up to the overhead. I haven't done anything except turn the power on, essentially, so external powers are on and the battery is on up there. Other than that, everything is still untouched. So actually I did turn nav and logo lights on as well when we started with the power. But nonetheless, let's get everything else kind of set up. We'll do a quick pre-flight flow here before we jump into the FMC and get the flight plan all loaded. So first things first, IRSs can go to on there. I do have them set to quick align. Not too keen on waiting like the 8 or 9 minutes to let those things align for the most part. I kind of flipped it on when we first turned on the airplane, but that's alright. I'll just leave it on quick align for now. It is very hot outside here in Doha. In fact, if we go over here and take a look at where do we want to be? Air there, that's what I'm looking for. We can see it's like 38, 39 degrees outside, so nearing 100 and above Fahrenheit, and we can see we have nice low 30s, well into the 90s Fahrenheit temperatures in the cabin. So I don't know of any other way to really get AC on board this airplane through GSX or anything like that. So we're just going to go ahead and start up the APU. We have a little extra fuel on board for this purpose, so we'll go ahead and start up the APU just so we can get some airflow, some air conditioning into the cabin there. APU is started, cool. The rest of this can stay untouched for now. Flight deck door power can come on. Emergency exit lights, are those armed? They were armed, so that is good. Window heats, we'll leave those off for now, as well as hydraulics, those can stay untouched. Over here to the next column, this all looks good. Fuel pumps can stay off for now. It's going to automatically pressurize the aft left one for the APU there, which is good. Wing anti-ice, we'll actually bring all the anti-ices, I believe, to auto position. Sometimes it gives you annunciator messages when those aren't on auto. I'm not sure if that's how the real airplane is or not, but we'll leave that on auto. One thing I did forget over here, we are done fueling, so fasten seatbelt sign can come on. Rest of those lights are good. We're going to turn the upper recirc fan on. Let's start getting these cabin temperatures down, so we'll turn these knobs to the cold side, and then to get the air in, we'll turn those packs on. We'll hear those come alive. Alright, that's pretty much good for the overhead panel for now. I'm actually going to set that to HPA, and I'm just going to hit B there to set the current altimeter setting as well before I forget. Cool. Jump down here to the FMC, CDU, whatever you want to call it. On the ident page here, 787-10, we have the Trent 1000 engines here. Nav data expires the 14th of June, 2023. It's currently June 9th, so that is current, which is good. We'll go to the pause init page next. We are at Doha, which is Oscar Tango Hotel. Put that in there. It's auto-loaded the GPS position in for us, which is good, and those more or less match up. I'll head over to the route page next. One thing I wish they would add is for it to autofill the origin here, right? Because it's pretty much assumed that when you put in your position on the paused init page that your flight's actually going to originate from the airport you're currently at. With the 737, I believe, and definitely the 777 that have flown in past times from PMDG, definitely autofills there. So I could be wrong that it doesn't do it in the 777, the 787, but I think it should do that. But nonetheless, we'll type it in again here. So Doha, destination is Athens, which is Lima Golf Alpha Victor. Perfect, we're going to be departing runway 34 right out of Doha today. So that was 34 right. Put it in place there up on our screen there. Flight number is Qatar Airways 203. Perfect. Head to the next page for the route. That's the only other thing, is there's currently no SimBrief functionality built in, or EFB or anything like that, so you kind of have to put in your route manually, unless you're going to do it via the in-game flight planner, which I don't mess with. So we'll put it in manually here. Not a whole lot to go in on it, so it shouldn't be a big deal. So we have actually no SID today, so we can skip that. After departure off 34 right, we're going direct to a fix called Patome, Alpha Tango Oscar Mike. So we go direct to that fix. From that fix, we're joining the Bravo 457 to let's see, is that correct? Bravo Hotel Romeo, that does look correct. So Bravo Hotel Romeo. From there we're going direct to a fix called Stepa Sierra Tango Echo Papa Alpha. From there we're joining the Lima 53 to Tipas. There we're joining the Upper November 134 excuse me, to Mike India Lima. Next page, Upper Lima 617 to Sorev. And that is our transition to our arrival procedure, which we'll skip putting in now. We'll put that in flight, just to make sure there aren't any weather changes, runway changes, anything like that. That would require us to do a different arrival, so we'll skip that for now. What we'll do is head to the legs page here, and we'll go back to our multifunction display, or our navigation display here. click the plan button at the top. I'm going to zoom in a little bit here, and then we'll just click this button down here and step through our route and make sure everything looks good. So 3-4 right to Patum to lib. Cool. I'm going to actually zoom that out. Oops, wrong direction. I'm going to zoom it out a little bit now and do the same thing just to make sure everything looks good. Yep. We're looking for any discontinuities or any areas where it looks like the airplane's not going to do what we're expecting it to do, but that looks all good. I'm going to head back to map here, and we'll zoom ourselves back in. Cool. We can activate and execute our route then, so that is complete. Head to the perf init page next. Fuel and cargo is all loaded, and we have our number of passengers, so we'll double click here, get our zero fuel weight in. That gives us a gross weight currently of 454.1 pounds, and the plan from SimBrief is right around 453, so a little bit heavier than planned. However, that shouldn't be an issue there. Fuel reserves today, we're going to take our fuel reserves, we're going to take our final reserve number here and add it to our alternate reserve. Basically what we're saying is when we get to our destination, what's the amount of fuel that we're going to have on board the airplane we're planning to, and that would be our final reserve, which would be what was left if we had to go to our alternate, plus what's available for us to fly to our alternate. So basically all we do is add those numbers up, so that gives us, hold on here, 12.98, so we'll just go with 13.0 on the reserves today, round that up a little bit. Perfect. Cruise altitude, we're fairly heavy today, so we're going to be cruising at 360 at those steps today. And our cost index is 160, which seems to be what SimBrief likes a lot of the time for the 787-10 for whatever reason. Not sure what Qatar uses in real life, but we'll go with what SimBrief planned, 160. And we'll execute that page as well. Thrust limit page here. I also don't have a takeoff calculator available. So I'm not going to do a selected temp today, but I do know that we're fairly heavy in terms of payload, but we've got tons of empty space in terms of fuel. We shouldn't need a full power takeoff here, so we'll do a 10% derate. And we'll select climb 1 as well. Takeoff page, double click here to get our CG in place of 19%. Flaps, relatively long runway, and once again, in the grand scheme of things, we're not super heavy, so we'll do flaps 5 takeoff today. That'll give us our takeoff speeds over here. V1 of 152, VR of 156, V2 of 163. Perfect. Alrighty. With that being done, let's go ahead and jump over here to the MCP and get things kind of set up. So we'll work left to right here. I'm going to take traffic over here, flight directors. Going to take auto throttle on. We will set our V2 speed, which, double check that, is 163. So 163 is set, and we will do VNAV. We're actually going to do heading select departure, initially flying runway heading before we make our turn left to our initial fix there. So our runway heading, hold on, let me grab my charts here and verify that. Runway heading is 336 for runway 34 right, so 336 set. I'm going to hit this button in the middle for heading select. Perfect. And our initial climb altitude, so we're not doing a SID, we're not flying online, we're flying offline today, so no air traffic control or anything like that today. So with that being said, we'll just go ahead and set our cruise altitude of flight level 360 and plan to go straight up there. Perfect. Other flight director is on, and we'll take traffic over on this side as well. So MCP is filled in, and FMC pre-flight is complete. You can see there with GS6 our boarding is just getting finished up here as the sun gets ready to come up here in Doha. So before long, we'll be getting set up for pushback and departure. So let's see if we can't get GS6 to do that. We'll wait for boarding to finish, and then I'll set up for pushback and departure. Jump back into the flight deck real quick. FMC pre-flight is complete. Let's actually run through our checklist here. So pre-flight, our parking brake is set. Our fuel control switches down here are to the cutoff position. And then we'll get started with what we can do before start checklist now. So passenger signs are on. MCP, we just set everything we need up there. Takeoff speeds are confirmed. CDU pre-flight is completed. Trim, we can go ahead and set that actually. 5.75 units down here. And we see that displayed right here, so we'll trim those down to 5.75 units right there, so that's set. Taxi and takeoff briefing, we just kind of went over that. We haven't talked about taxi quite yet, but we'll get to that once we push the airplane back. And beacon, we'll wait to turn that on until we're actually ready to start the engine. So I'll let GS6 finish its doing its thing, and I'll be back with you when we're ready for pushback. Alright, just about ready to set up for pushback here. Beacon can come on. Let everyone know we're ready to push back and start our engines. Let GS6 connect up the tow truck.
Departure checks completed. Bypass pin inserted. Locking gear.
Alright, just about ready to go. Do our final flow checks here. APU is on. Window heats can come to the on position. Hydraulics, we'll let the right side pressurize. Get the rest of those on. Fuel pumps can come on. We got no fuel in the center. Beacon is on. Packs are on. We're ready to start the engine.
Brakes.
Let's go ahead and abort that pushback because I hit a number there and I'm not sure it's the number that I wanted to hit. I accidentally hit that when changing views. Let's see if we can get it to see if I can get it to reset there. I'll let it do its thing, make sure I can get it to reset, and then push back from there. Alright, got GS6 figured out, and we're just about ready to push back here. It's locking our gear in place. Cool. So we want to go nose left and tail to the right.
Release parking brakes.
So that is it. We'll release our parking brakes and start the pushback. Ready to start engine. Beacon is on. Cool. So on the 787 we do have electric starters. It's not a bleed start system. So we actually start both engines at the same time. So we'll come up here to the engine section of the overhead here. We'll flip both these switches over to the start position. Come down here to our fuel controls, flip both those to run. We should see auto start pop up on both these guys on the N2 category, which means both those engines are going to start. And essentially the airplane's going to handle the rest of everything, adding the fuel in, all that on its own. just going to watch, make sure nothing crazy happens, make sure you don't have crazy high EGTs or anything like that. For any of those that are wondering, this traffic is FSLTL, but I'm actually just using static traffic and not the actual moving traffic. The moving traffic causes lots of frame drops, and the behavior of it isn't really that realistic, so I leave that off and leave it to static just to have a few accurate airplanes sitting at some of the gates and such, so that's what that is. Cool. Both our engines are started up and running. We're completing our pushback procedure here.
Set parking brake.
Cool, there it goes. Pushback is complete. Set that parking brake.
We have a good engine start. You can disconnect.
Good engine start. Perfect. We'll go ahead and get started with our before taxi checklist. So over here we're going to need flight controls up momentarily. Perfect. Anti-ice. We have those all set to auto right there. Recall is checked. We have no yellow or red annunciators there. Auto brake. Set that to RTO. Flight controls, we will go ahead and check those guys here. So, aileron full left, aileron spoiler full right,
Gear.
elevator up, elevator down, rudder full right, rudder full left there. So flight controls are checked. Ground equipment will be clear in just a moment, and EPU, we go ahead and shut that off.
Bypass
So
pin
EPU is
removed.
off. We have no amber lights on the overhead, so that's looking good.
Right is clear.
Saying before takeoff, flaps. Go ahead and select flaps 5. And checklists are complete. Little lag spike there. Cool. Alrighty. Last thing we want to do here, we'll set TA only on our transponder. Flaps are set and green at 5. And we'll plan for our taxi here. Jump over to Navigraph here real quick. So we've been pushed back here on taxiway Echo 1 here. So taxi forward on Echo 1. We'll taxi forward and join taxiway Bravo, I believe. Take a right on Bravo all the way down here to the end of 34 right at Alpha. So we'll go ahead and take off the parking brake. Get moving. For some reason, the spoilers have gone up. Oh, it's because I accidentally ended up in reverse mode on the throttle here. What's going on? There we go. Cool. Now we're moving. taxi and turn off lights on here as we exit the ramp. There's taxiway Charlie in front of us. We're going to take the next right on taxiway Bravo. Alright, we're nearing the full length of runway 34 right. Go ahead and chime the cabin. Let the flight attendants know we're ready for departure. Get ourselves slowed down for this turn here. As we cross the hold short line here, landing lights and strobe lights come to the on position. Do a final check here. Auto throttles aren't, we got VNAV. Heading select. Get ourselves all lined up. Go through 4 right identified. We'll go ahead and get going here. A little forward pressure on the yoke. We'll set around 50% or so in 1. Stabilized. Toga. Okay, thrust reference heading select. Toga. Airspeed's alive. 80 knots. Neutralize the yoke. Thrust is set. Flags back here. There's V1. Rotate. Zero plane off up to 10 degrees. Pitch up. Pause rate of climb. Gear can come up. Now I'll follow that flight director up. Make sure I'm still focused on flying even though it looks great outside there. Alright, I'm gonna go speed intervene. Speed intervene, we'll set flap 1 speed here. Pitch down for that flight director for acceleration. one other thing, autopilot's pretty aggressive when it takes a hold of the airplane there. So we're out of range a little bit. So go ahead and take flaps 1 as we accelerate there, and we'll go direct our first fix. So we'll take our legs page here, double click on Patone there, we'll go direct, and LNAV. It's pretty much a straight out departure from there. Cool. Go ahead and bug our flap up speed. So we accelerate through that flap 1 speed. Go ahead and take flaps up. Starting to get some views of the city here. There's one thing that was nice about the freeware version of this airport from FlightSim.to that was around for a while, is it had a really good rendition of the city itself that definitely looked better than kind of default there. So maybe I'll have to look into somehow getting just that city scenery pack in there, not the airport. But anyways, still looks nice. Alrighty. Zoom our navigation displays on both sides out a little bit here. Cool. We're at our flaps up speed. Flaps are coming up, so we can let VNav ham speed at this point. We'll let it accelerate us up to 250 knots. Clean up the airplane a little bit. Oops, turn-offs and taxi lights can come off. Auto brake is set to off. And we can actually do our after takeoff checklist. Landing gears up, flaps are up as well. Don't believe actually correctly set the transition altitude in the FMC, but I believe it's 15,000 feet here. So we'll switch over to standard at 15,000. Climbing through 10,000. The rest of these lights can come off. Don't need those anymore. Airplane's going to pitch down and accelerate to its climb speed. Cabin temperature, see how those are doing. Down into the 20s. We can actually turn these up just a touch so we don't get too cold in here as the air gets colder as we climb. Reach our climb speed there. Airplane's going to pitch back up. This airplane's quite a rocket here, doing 330 knots indicator speed, Mach 0.63 almost, and still getting 3,500 plus feet per minute climb rate. Passing 15,000, we'll take standard both places here. Alrighty, folks, we are set up and ready to go on our way up to our cruise altitude. At this point, no need to bore you with just watching the airplane climb. So I'll have a few views for you from the climb and the cruise portion of the flight, and then we'll join back near the top of descent once we have our arrival all loaded in and all that. So see you in a minute. Hello everyone, welcome back. As you can see, we have begun our descent down into Athens. I've been fighting with the autopilot a little bit to get it to what I want. Compared when the approach, it's doing a little funky routing here, so I tried to take away a waypoint that was sitting right here that I thought was the culprit. Well, then it's just decided to, I guess, skip these two waypoints, which put us way high on profile, so I had to dump out speed brake here, try to catch up. I'm not really sure what it's trying to do. We'll see if it's going to flood that waypoint. If you can see here, from the KEA VOR, we're supposed to make a left turn direct to D190T. So we'll see if it does that, even though it, for whatever reason, the LNAV display on the navigation display here isn't showing that that's what the airplane is going to do. So we're coming back on profile now. We'll just wait and see. But anyhow, I actually need to get the seatbelt sign going here. So we achieve profile. Leave the speed brakes in for a second. Help us slow down to 250. And we'll start bringing this guy in here as well. So, excuse me. Minimums are set 471 for the ILS 03 right approach. We have our altimeters set as well, so we can go ahead and actually do our descent check here. Recall is checked. Auto brake, we want auto brake 3 today. We'll take landing. We haven't set our VREF yet, so we'll do flaps 30. So VREF is set as well as minimums. It's really not, I'm not quite sure what it's getting at here. We can dump out the speed brakes now. Approach briefing is completed. Altimeters have been set, so we'll switch over to standard. We'll reach transition altitude of 9,000, and landing checklist can wait. Yeah, I'm not quite sure why it's doing this. The only thing I can think to try here is, can we just go direct to there? And that seems to fix it. So, okay, interesting. That seemed to be, it seemed to have trouble drawing that sort of a leg. It does think it's high again. So definitely still some issues with VNAV that need to be worked out. It's not as easy, you know, plug and play, if you will, as like the PMG 737, the Phoenix A320, add-ons like that. It's not quite as easy to get things set up how you need it to get the airplane to do exactly what you want, but it takes a little messing around with. We have it set there, so descent check is complete. Keep the airplane coming down here. Been airborne just over 3.5 hours, so actually made up a little time. We're going to be a little bit early to our gate, which is always a good thing. Get rid of those speed brakes now that we're catching up to our descent profile. Run over some of the Greek islands here. That's going to be Athens Airport, right off in that direction. Alright, seems to have stabilized itself just a little bit now. In our MCP here, we have set our glide slope intercept altitude, so that's what we're descending towards. Another thing we'll have to watch, which I have had a little bit of an issue with at times, is the aircraft reaching the glide slope intercept altitude, which I believe is going to be at this fix right here, a little bit late, where it won't actually intercept the glide slope if you have glide slope arms. So we'll have to keep an eye on that, make sure we're down at that altitude and below the glide slope indication here before we reach that altitude, or else it levels off, and if you don't actually intercept, if you kind of come from above and don't actually intercept that altitude, it won't intercept the glide slope. So it's always best to intercept from below, obviously. VNAV normally should kind of set you up to do that. It doesn't always do so perfectly, however, so another thing to keep an eye on there. But so far, so good. Looks like we've kind of smoothed things out here. In this most recent update, they actually added the functionality for the range rings here, which is super helpful. So I've set a ring around the airport of 5 nautical miles and 10 nautical miles, just to give us a little bit of a reference as we're coming on approach where we are at in relation to the runway. So, all right, through 10,000 feet, we'll go ahead and just take all of our lights on here. Through 9,000 and set local altimeter setting 1011. Perfect. Set both places. Just gonna stop that from slowing down quite so much. We'll set to like 200 knots there. Actually, I'll switch that to 210 since we're there right now. And we don't need to start using our flaps quite yet, so we'll stick up at 210 here. The plane was a little bit slow with speed mode there, and adding power, excuse me, to hold that airspeed. All in all, not too bad though. see down here we are receiving the localizer signal, which is always a good sign. We'll arm Loke in just a minute when we make this right turn towards the ILS course. So on all VNav seems to do a pretty good job, at least the calculations in terms of getting the airplane down. Seem to do a pretty good job. Occasionally you come across issues like we just had there where seemed to possibly be an issue with the LNAV where it wasn't calculating properly. So you just still kind of have to watch it a little bit, make sure it looks like it's going to do what you want to do. As long as everything's good in terms of how it looks, things are generally pretty good. Only other thing is sometimes it does calculate this descent's a little steep to where you need to use the speed brakes to get it to slow down, specifically when you're trying to reach that 250 knots below 10,000 feet. But alright, we are on intercept heading for the localizer, so we'll go ahead and arm Loke mode. In fact, we'll just arm approach mode, which is arm and glide slope. That I believe, even though glide slope's not intercepted, that approach mode light should turn on there. And we'll stick with Loke. Actually, looks like we're getting close to maintaining that glide slope. We don't want to intercept the glide slope for the localizer. So hoping it will maintain here and not let us slip above the localizer. Alright, there's localizer intercept. And we'll hit approach mode. There's glide slope. Cool, we're going to go ahead and slow down to 200 knots. We'll go ahead and take flap 1. And we'll take flap 5 as well. There's the airport inside out in front of us. Now that glide slope is set, we can go and set 5,000 feet, which is our missed approach altitude. Check RVRS speed, 30 degrees flaps, 148. Lights are already on, seatbelt signs are on, chime in the cabin, since we are getting ready for landing. Not going to need those speed brakes, so we'll go ahead and arm those. Ready, round 110 nautical miles out here. We'll slow to about 180. We'll take gear down, flaps 15. Speed back to 160, bring it back a little further here. See, we do have Cat 3 out of land working here. We have rollout and flare modes armed. Won't be needing that today though. Alright, there's 1,000 feet on the radio altimeter, a little bit above that. Just got this higher train beneath us. Alright, 153 is now set, and we'll take flaps 25. Gear is down, and we'll go flaps 30. Running checklist complete. Alrighty. All configured, stabilize on the approach. We'll take out the autopilot. Auto throttle stays on. Looking good on glide path. Minimum's landing.
50, 40, 30, 20, 10.
Idle the power. We're down. Hold that nose up as long as we can. Whoa, it's a little squirrely on the ground there. Reverse screen. There's 80 knots. Make sure we're out of reverse there, and we are. Cool. And we'll exit right here. Flaps can come up. As we pull off, take all our lights except for taxi. Cool. Also head up here and we'll start the APU. Flight directors can come off. Alright, let's pop up GSX. Plan was gate Alpha 11, which is available. No, follow me. We'll take Swissport International. Well, it certainly felt better in the flare on that particular landing, a little easier to control than some of the previous updates, so I like the changes they've made there. Previous to this flight, I've seemingly been unable to do anything but just absolutely slam the airplane into the ground. So that was certainly a better touchdown on that one, so it feels like they've streamlined the handling of the airplane in the flare as well as in the rotation as well. It felt pretty good on this particular flight, but all in all, really great aircraft. I'd say for the most part you'd have no problems flying it on VATSIM, anything like that these days as well. So certainly worth getting the beta for now if you have the Premium Deluxe upgrade, and I'd say with how it's going, it may even be worth it, you know, to purchase the upgrade just for this airplane as well as the Citation Longitude. So, two aircraft that working title has definitely improved vastly since they've began their partnership with Asobo. So, alrighty, here we are, pulling into our gate. Come to a stop. Braking rig on. Engine cutoffs come off. Seatbelt signs can come off. Beacon comes off as well. We'll go ahead and take our ground power since we have it now, and we can shut the APU down. It's really just for that power transfer there. Fuel pumps can come off. Hydraulics. Window heat, don't need that on at the moment either. We'll leave the packs on auto. Everything else is pretty much set. We'll have GSX start the deboarding process. We'll hop outside here. And there we are. Welcome to Athens. Just about 3 hours, 55 minutes or so flight time. I didn't actually see the exact number because it goes away there on the avionics as soon as you touch down. But pretty much an uneventful flight. So thank you guys for coming along on the ride with me. I'll probably be doing some more flights with the 787 here in the lead up to the release of the AAU2 beta update, and certainly afterwards as well. It's kind of what I've enjoyed flying most lately. You know, I've had plenty of my fair share of flights in the PMDG 737, Phoenix A320,
Passengers
you know,
boarding
that type of
started.
thing. But it's nice to have kind of a bigger, more long haul oriented aircraft available, even if you're not flying it on super long routes. I'm enjoying it thoroughly right now. So yeah, once again, thank you guys all for watching, and stay tuned for whatever comes next on the channel. Also, feel free to post any suggestions, feedback, whatever it may be, down in the comments as well. I'm always up for flying to new destinations and that type of thing, new airlines, especially in MSFS, where the world scenery at a minimum is pretty nice across the whole globe. Makes it a lot of fun to fly to new locations. And some of the previous sims, if you didn't have an Orbix package or whatever it may be, the scenery just plain didn't look nice in a lot of parts of the world. So that's one of the biggest benefits of MSFS, is it just makes it much more enjoyable to kind of fly all over the place. So feel free to leave those suggestions, and I hope to see you next time. I'll talk to you later.